Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 186 of Lonely Gods. I'm your host, David, and I'm joined here, as always, by Kate.
Hi, Dave.
Hi, Kate.
This is our show.
This is our show.
It's about Doctor Who.
Are you ready to talk about the last audios before we finish Peter Davison?
Well, there is one last audio thing, but we'll get to that, I guess.
Okay. Oh, is there one in between the finale and the new season? Which would be weird, because doesn't he regenerate in the finale?
He does, yes.
Interesting. Or is it another multi-doctor thing that you have to wait until you get the next doctor to get?
No, it's not a multi-doctor. It is a Peter Davison thing. It's kind of just it's a supplement, I suppose, to the finale. Anyway, like I said, we'll get to that.
Yes.
Yes.
So, let's go ahead and start off with.
Wait, do we have any Doctor Who news?
Oh yeah, no.
No, we don't. There was a short trip sale this weekend, and it's far too late to do anything about it. By the time anyone hears this, so that's literally it.
People keep talking about how this new season of Doctor Who is going to be very interesting.
I'm sure it will be stunning and brave. You'll have to report back for us next Sunday, I guess. That's when it premieres, I believe.
Yeah. So you mean not that our first Colin Baker story will have reports on the new season?
Well, no, because I mean, I guess it depends if you watch the new episode before we do the podcast next week or not.
I assume I will not.
Well, I know I will not, but I guess you'll
until we get there.
Well, even then, I'm gonna do my best to Larry David my way out of it. And
no, not how this works.
I don't want to do it.
You have to.
You really don't.
You committed yourself.
I committed myself. Not. Look, when I got into this, I did not know how soy boy Doctor Who would become. Okay, like,
it's gonna turn out great, and you're gonna have to eat all your words.
If it does, I will happily eat all my words. Like, it's not a pride. It's not a pride thing. I keep saying it. I would rather enjoy things than not. Like, but the thing is like, I'm not going to believe any of the things I hear about it, except for maybe from you, because it's not, well,
is stupid.
Because the internet is stupid. Number one, a lot of the blogs that would report on that kind of thing are going to be left-leaning and will support it out of solidarity, at least at first. And the fans, there is a certain subsection of the fan base that we see with, like, the reception to, say, the 700th mediocre Fourth Doctor adventure that will just eat up anything with the Doctor Who name on it and praise it to the high heavens. And it's not going to be until, a year down the line when people who are a little more rational actually, bother to take a look at it. So I will give it time. I'm not going to set too much stock either way from the initial reaction, because I just don't think it's going to be clear-headed, for better or for worse. So in the meanwhile, buy some short trips, I guess. You should. Short trips are good. We like them. They're weird and stupid. Different. So, Dave.
Yes.
We have a motley collection of random bullshit to talk about this week.
Yes, we do. It's very peculiar. So
hang on. Is my internet okay, or are you, like, having to, like, is your brain loading before responding to me? Okay, just making sure. Go ahead.
First up, we have our one normal thing, which is, I mean, I guess the short trip we have is pretty normal, but
well, I suppose.
Everything else is weird.
Yeah.
So first up, we have our penultimate episode of our Second Doctor Companion Chronicles box set, Iron Maid. This story has to do with the Second Doctor, Jamie and Zoe, showing up into what era of oldie times are they in, Kate?
They are in like Joan of Arc era France, basically.
Yes.
And so this church maiden has seen visions of a woman taking up arms to save France, and donning armor, and there's fire and sword in the sky and all this stuff.
There's a man who's weird.
There's a man at the church who's weird, and he likes.
I'm just gonna jump to the end.
Okay.
It turns out he's a soldier from World War I that fell through time and is trying to bring back his battalion to he is a German World War I soldier, and he is trying to bring back his battalion and armaments because there is also a crashed tank.
Oh yeah, there's a tank that gets through there, but it's like there's a certain amount of like time displacement, and where like, well, I guess time dilation more than time displacement, but like the tank crew, like people think it's like infested by demons, the tank, because like they can hear the crew talking inside, but like their time is moving much more slowly, so it's just like a weird rumble noise, I guess.
Yes.
But yeah, basically there's like spooky goings on and devils attacking the countryside allegedly, and the church waif is like, oh, the king has to come and hear me out to save La France, and yeah, the secret gravedigger, who's actually a German from the future, is like, aha, I shall kill the king of France with my time traveling fucking World War I goons, because then if there's no France, there's no war. Which I don't really think makes sense, but yeah, anyway, basically he's like trying to attack the countryside with modern armaments and stuff, and the Doctor and friends ain't really having that, and then for some reason they go back into the woods, and that they get like sucked back into World War One, except for the gravedigger guy, who I think he manages to stay a little longer and waves a gun at people until I guess he goes back to. I don't really remember. I don't remember what the explanation is for like how the time rift opened.
Me either.
They said something about like an angel falling to Earth, and they thought it was an alien ship that crashed, but it wasn't because there's not an explosion. So I don't know if it was just a. I think maybe it was like the wake of a passing time ship, like opened. I don't know. I don't really care either. To be honest,
to be fair, I completely forgot what this story was about, and I had to ask you before we started recording.
Well, I mean, I almost forgot.
It was fine. It wasn't a bad episode. It just was absolutely nothing special.
No, I mean, I liked it well enough. I will give it points for not being what I thought it was going to be, which was basically like reading the synopsis and like the first few minutes of this, I'm like, this is going to be the Doctor Who explanation for Joan of Arc. And it wasn't. It had nothing to do with Joan of Arc. They're clearly drawing parallels from that, but I had forgotten that Doctor Who could draw parallels with something without doing an outright riff on it. So good for you, I guess. I think there's some nice atmospherics, like in the church catacombs and stuff, when you don't know what's going on. It's a little bit. There's a bit of creepiness, I suppose. All of that dissipates toward the end when it's, all is revealed, I suppose. I feel like it's one of those cases where the mystery is kind of more interesting than the answer, I guess.
Yes.
Also, one thing I remember that struck me as weird is that I know this is a companion chronicle, and this is Zoe narrating, but they do have Fraser Hines in the story as Jamie and voicing the Doctor's lines most of the time. But there are a few, like, just like once or twice, there are some isolated instances where Zoe is narrating the Doctor's lines, and I don't know why they did that, because it's confusing.
It's very weird.
It's very weird, and it's like, I understood if like, you know, back when Companion Chronicles was a monthly series instead of doing annual box sets, maybe you didn't have Fraser Hines that week available. But like when you have him in the story, I don't understand why. And it's not like they were like separated and it was like, you know, a different perspective or anything. It was just like a couple lines here and there, like once or twice through the story. And I don't mean to harp on it. I just thought it was a strange choice, because I kind of figured they would have picked one or the other.
It was a strange choice.
I wonder why they did that.
I don't know.
Maybe Fraser Hines had a bout of like 3-second mono and just couldn't
finish.
Couldn't finish. couldn't do the big finish.
Anyway, so next up, we have we finally returned to our
leftover
the Mind's Eye disc,
right?
To finish, because this is a week. This week, not only do we have the 4th part. It's of course Mission of the Viyrans is its own story, but it was the 4th part on the same disc as a 3-part story, The Mind's Eye. And then after that, then we have a short trip, and then after that we have another 3-part story, but also its 4th separate part story as well. Weird week.
Yeah, it is a weird week, and I don't know that I like the 3-in-1 format. I mean, it's something they kind of experimented with for like maybe the period of like a year's worth. I mean, they didn't do it all the time, but they did like I think they did it like 2 or 3 times over the course of a year, and then kind of dropped it. And I feel like that's probably for the best. I don't really like the format. I think I prefer the main feature stories to kind of have their own. To have the stage to themselves, I suppose, because most of the time, not always, but most of the time, the 3-parters end up feeling needlessly kind of truncated or flat, and the 1-parters I think are better off in sort of the 4-episode like anthology collections, you know.
Yeah, because
again, there they get the spotlight to themselves instead of being kind of shoved in as a bonus feature somewhere else. So, I don't know. It's one of those things with like the trilogy format that they sort of started to experiment with when Nick Briggs took over, and I think unlike the trilogies, they decided it didn't really work. So, yeah.
It didn't really work. I don't really care for it either.
Yep. Speaking of big dick Nick Briggs, he the Viyrans were a race that he created for a 10th Doctor and Rose. I think it was a comic, might have been a book, and then brought into Big Finish. So technically speaking, the Viyrans are the first new series original thing that Big Finish covered. So there's your trivia. The next time anyone tries to tell you it was Torchwood or Kate Stewart or something, you can tell them, no, man, no, the Viyrans.
I don't remember this episode then.
It wasn't an episode. It was a book or a comic, remember?
Oh, okay.
What I literally just said.
My brain is dead today.
I can tell. So anyway.
The Viyrans.
The Viyrans.
Also a weird story.
Yes.
Because it's told sort of out of order.
Yep.
Perry and the Doctor have gone to this like it's a
party planet fuck pad kind of place. It's like Ryza from Star Trek, if anyone's familiar with that. It's the resort planet. It's like something, I think it's called something social. I don't remember what the fuck the stupid name is, but
yes, but so it's a party planet.
24-hour party planet.
What?
Anyway, so but like the framing device of this is that the Viyrans have captured Perry in a memory hole, and they're like trying to like they're interrogating her to work out what she remembers because they want her to forget something, and you're not really sure what it is. And so over the course of the flashbacks, we see that the Doctor and Perry have arrived on this fucking stupid planet. They go to a party. Perry probably fucks some guy. The Doctor is being a bit of a poop. But anyway, like when they get off the planet, like Perry accidentally swallows something that feels like a bug in her throat or whatever. And then after that, for some reason, everyone she talks to, like their faces and like they basically just transform into copies of her. And it's creepy.
Yes.
It's extremely creepy and unsettling.
It's great.
Yeah, mostly down to Nicola Bryant's performance of just how like disturbed Perry is by this, and how panicked she gets that literally every single person she talks to turns into herself. But anyway, it turns out that it was a biological weapon that was loosed upon the planet, and the Viyrans come in to sort of
contain it.
They do containment and sort of Men in Black the whole thing away. And Perry had proved a little bit too resistant to their memory hole process. So they're having a difficulty with her. And I think the conclusion is that basically, because they won't tell Perry what she's supposed to forget, that only makes her want to try and figure it out instead of forgetting it. So basically, they kind of have to let her sort of piece the whole story together, and then she'll agree to it, I guess.
Yeah.
Not that that's actually really important, but
no,
it's mostly an excuse for, I guess, Perry being scared of some very bizarre things.
But yeah, it was fine. It's basically just a short trip. It's very quick.
Yeah, I mean, these one-parters are essentially full cast short trips, but yeah, I mean, the Viyrans show up quite a lot. I think this was their first appearance at Big Finish, but they'll show up quite a lot with the Charlie stuff, and and a little bit into Paul McGann without Charlie, but yeah, I mean, I'm not entirely sure that I find them that fascinating. I kind of like the idea of the germ warfare stuff, but it's less like a genuine pandemic and more an excuse for weird things to occur. So I don't know. I do like that they're not really villains, but or malicious, but they just kind of don't really give a fuck if it's if it's unpleasant for Perry or not. It's like they have their job to do, and they're gonna do it. And if that means wiping her memory, fine.
Oh, they're total assholes.
You know, they're assholes. They're ruthless, but they're not evil. And I feel like sometimes, and maybe I'm just feeling kind of negative this week, but sometimes in Doctor Who, any kind of antagonist that isn't an outright cartoon character is a victory. So I'll take it,
I suppose. So moving on. Next up, we have an actual short trip, Wet Walls.
Yeah, this is from the original 4 volumes of Companion Chronicles, or short trips, specifically volume 3, if anyone cares. So because they were cramming 8 of these, one for each Doctor, onto 2 discs, these ones tend to be a little bit shorter. So I think this one runs about 15 minutes instead of the half hours that we're spoiled with nowadays. But so yeah, it's a pretty simple outing. Doctor and Perry are in Edwardian England this time. There's a storm going on. They try and take shelter at this house. The lady of the house is losing her fucking mind and wasting away because at night she sees the walls and floor like dripping with gross liquid and that nobody else can see, including the deep voiced Maid.
Yes.
Yes. So obviously they investigate. Perry can also see the gross liquid. The Doctor cannot. And eventually they find out that it's this weird race of asexual aliens that crashed on the planet, and they don't reproduce with like fucking, but they reproduce by like making a fetus in like a cave someplace. And so I guess the guy's like using the alien is like using the house
This is like
to make a fetus, because their race is always pair bonded. So he needs to make a fetus that will then grow up to be his co-pilot, so he can go fly away. And it turns out that the maid is actually a dude, because they wanted to live together, but couldn't because of class divisions.
this is half of a good story, like a great story, and then the other half is just weird and not a bad way, but not a good way.
I'm not sure what element of this you could consider great.
Well, it starts off very like haunted, like literally like The Haunting of Hill House. Like it's this cool setup. It's creepy. Then even the whole like, and then the other half of it, the idea of the like, you know, turning a place like in a displaced dimensionally like womb gestating this building, like that's interesting. It just doesn't really fit into neither of them are fully developed into an actual plot. They're kind of jammed together.
Well, I don't really know how you could do that within 15 minutes. And I mean,
No, I don't think you could either. And then
the idea of the house gestating something could, like you said, it could be interesting, but I think I would have preferred if they had gone the more haunted house route and had, you know, something unknown gestating that was sinister and dangerous, instead of a guy who wanted somebody to to help him drive his spaceship.
And then the twist at the end where the deep voiced servant lady was actually a dude was like not interesting at all.
Absolutely and totally unnecessary.
Very
but,
weird.
Mean, I understand that they wanted the servant to not be able to see the wet, because to make you not sure at first if she's nuts, until Perry can see it too. But why would they not have just like made the guy a butler instead? Like, it's a complication that you don't need when you have 15 minutes and change. Like I don't get it.
It was weird. This is one of those.
It's one of those short trips that just kind of comes and goes with no substance, I think.
But it lacks like the fun, weird element of like the rhubarb one.
Yeah, but the rhubarb one I think was half an hour, wasn't it?
I don't remember.
I don't know. So that it sure was a thing that happened, though.
Yes, it was. So again, man, we're blowing. It looks like we have so much this week, but they're all like 15 minutes long. So
well, yeah, I mean,
or there's like just Iron Maid was just kind of nothing.
Well, Iron Maid was an hour, and then Exotron, which we're going to talk about in a second, was an hour and a half.
But even then,
everything else was a half hour or less. So
not super interesting either.
Oh my fucking lord!
What?
Exotron? I don't know. I just don't.
Exotron,
man.
Exotron is like you had a good idea and then you just kind of meandered for an hour and like, you know, I mean, we've seen it a bajillion. I mean, I guess literally we've seen it a bajillion times before, because the Exotrons are basically just slightly different versions of Cybermen.
Kinda, yeah.
Where there are these. So basically, the Doctor and Perry land on this planet where there are these robots called the Exotrons. There's like a scientific, but like corporate scientific mission.
Terraforming colony, right?
Yes.
And there's the indigenous life forms called the fucking hoochie mamas or whatever the fuck they're called. They're giant hyena things. And so the Exotrons have been built by the scientist lady's military ex-husband to protect the colony, because The hyena things really only attack the robots, I guess. So it's mostly just them they don't like. But then, like, there's some shady secret about how the exotrons are made, and that the the ex-husband is like in bed with some like shady, fucking public servant, I guess, to sell the thing to the military and whatever. And it's fucking, I don't know. It's boring.
Yes.
I didn't really care. Basically, what it comes down to is that the exotrons are controlled via the ex-husband using a psychic network to exert his influence on the exotrons, which are not pure robots, but he has stuffed with the rotting dead bodies of soldiers that have been mortally injured under his command. And I guess they're wow, my head is about ready to explode. Anyway, so he's used them to like power the exotrons and I guess give them their fucking life or whatever. So he's condemned their minds to a horrible gestalt that he controls. And the hyenas are naturally telepathic, and like the noise that the exotrons generate makes their brains sad. And then after that, the public servant comes to like glass everything and take the data. But then the exotrons regain sentience and blow themselves up, so everything's fine. And then the people can live with the hyenas peacefully, I guess.
Yes.
That's kind of it.
It's yeah, not great.
It's I don't know.
It meanders a lot.
Which is saying something because it's 3 parts. If this had been 4, I think I would have been tearing my hair out. But as it is, it's just kind of like But anything longer than 3, and I would have been like actually mad. So I guess this works in its favor. This wacky format. I guess I kind of you say that it seemed like the Cybermen again, but I was actually thinking more Evangelion.
I hate Evangelion, so
well, I'm not a huge like anime dork, but it made me think of like the robots aren't robots. There's flesh inside. Dun dun dun. And it's someone you've loved.
And then with the whole neural network with the ghosts in it.
Yeah. And I felt like that could actually have been kind of interesting. So, I mean, it seemed like I didn't even think of Cybermen. I thought it was kind of like it was different enough that if they had played up the mindscape and body horror a little more, that would have been more interesting to me than an evil person who's building robots that are up to no good. Because that's, like you said, we've seen it about 6,000 bajillion fucking times before.
Yep.
And yeah, I don't know. It's really fucking kind of uninteresting Doctor Who that you've seen and heard before. There's not really anything to recommend this. I think really the best thing I could say about this is that Perry gets to be kind of nicely proactive, I guess, in the story, because the Doctor is carried off by one of the robots early on and is kind of, so Perry gets sort of her own thread with most of the guest cast to be sassy, but you know, a character that's already pre-established. I mean, I don't think you really get any points for using that in your own script, to be honest.
No.
So,
well,
I don't know. Also, is this possibly the most bland-looking cover I've ever seen for a Big Finish
my god,
release?
it's so stupid.
The cover is awful.
And I am someone who fucking loves like weird 50s looking robots and stuff. Like, it's not a good movie, but like Sky Captain was awesome.
Well, but like it looks
But it looks worse than that. It looks like a cheap knockoff.
It's not even the art, but like the color palette is horrendous, because it's you have the sidebar with the Doctor in his beige and gray outfit. You have the beige and gray wasteland background. You have a sort of beigeish yellow tinge around the edges. They have a gray robot fighting a dull, dusty brown hyena thing on the and it's both of the designs for the creature and the robot are
bad,
horrendously uninteresting. And it looks like there's no color in that cover at all. There's nothing that draws your eye. I don't usually like give a fuck about the cover art, but looking at that on my iPad screen, I was like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
I've seen some bad Photoshops on Big Finish covers before, especially in the early days, but this is just like,
it's rough.
It's the artistic equivalent of like white rice. Like, I don't. It's completely colorless and without personality.
So last up, we have our fourth part to the Exotrons CD, which is the basically, I mean, it's a short trip essentially. Urban myths.
Mm-hmm.
Which is probably our best story of the week.
Yeah, I'm inclined to agree with that.
The bar is not high and the story is not amazing, but it's fun. Yeah. It's just a fun little ride, which is really, I mean, after all we went through, all you really want.
Pretty much. I mean, I think I liked our Companion Chronicle a little more than you did, but out of the Fifth Doctor stuff, this is most assuredly the best. So basically, it's like it's one of those Rashomon style episodes where you've got 3 CIA agents, and like Gallifrey CIA, not America CIA. They're all in a restaurant, and they're all discussing.
Waited on by Perry, very obviously.
Being waited on by Perry, yes. They're all in a restaurant. They're all discussing how they're waiting there to ambush the Doctor because they've got orders to kill him because he committed some horrible atrocity, and they each tell their version of how they remember what the Doctor has done. And the first story is fabulous. the first telling of it, I should say, is fabulous because it basically
has a cold-hearted monster.
He's not cold though. Him and Perry are intergalactic fuckheads. Where they almost like they go to this planet that's like in global anarchy basically, and it's like a constant riot. It's lawlessness. It's awful. But like when they arrive, they almost get gunned or run over by like some passing vehicle. The Doctor like shoots them with a bazooka.
Yes,
and they laugh about it, and it's like they're assholes, but it's fun for them, and it's fun to listen to because they're both so like over the top. Outrageously evil.
It's like having multiple Deadpools hanging out together. It's just like, what is going on? Except, but you like opening up Spider-Man and the story is Spider-Man. It's 3 Spider-Man, but they're all acting like Deadpool.
So then, yeah, like the second story, the Doctor is still a little bit like harder edged, but like, you know, but it's toned down. He does have good intentions, but is just kind of a dick going about them, and is kind of like cavalier about safety. And in the third story, it seems like it's what's probably closer to the truth, where the Doctor is there to try and solve a problem. The riot is because of some, like, I think it's like a plague or something. And the locals science director, it's like, solution to this is like to like vent like volcanic gas everywhere, which is not a good idea, but it's kind of to
kill everyone,
but it's kind of too late to stop. And so anyway, so once we come back to the framing story from that, basically it's like, oh, but the Doctor went and he cured everyone because he got infected himself and used his blood sample to but anyway, so then it turns out that the virus in question was something that makes people prone to like believing exaggerated and paranoid things about other people,
which is great too, because once you learn that, and you learn that the doctor's been inoculating them through their multi-course meal, like
Yes.
mixing in the antidote, it's like, well, this is why the stories are toning down and becoming more rational, is because they're losing the infection as it goes on, which is it's a short trip. There's not a lot to it, but it was very fun, and
it was a nice way to tie the framing device into the storyline.
Yeah, and it was, and again, yeah, that opening story is just so great.
Because it's so ridiculous, and it's like, yeah, because by the end of it, the CIA agents are like, "What? Of course we're not here to kill you. That's fucking ridiculous." And it's like, sorry about that. Like, of course you tried to save them, but well, we had fun while it lasted, I guess.
Yeah. But that's pretty much all there is to say.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, like I said, I have to agree with you. I think Urban Myths is definitely the most fun. I'm not sure that I would recommend picking up really any of these this week, but
no, especially because the only way to get Urban Myths is to
buy Exotron,
which is not worth picking up.
Well, I mean, I think Exotron is within the first 100. So I think it's like $3. So I mean, if you really want Urban Myths, I guess $3 is probably an alright price.
I mean, technically, Exotron also wasn't horrible. It was just
it was just very bland.
It was on the worst side of bland, but yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know.
You ready to go back to TV, Kate?
No.
Why, you're not ready to say goodbye to 5?
Pretty much.
Yeah, I mean, I'm really gonna miss Peter Davison. He's awesome.
Well, I think part of the impact of mixing in like the audios in continuity with the TV show is that we end up spending so much longer with one Doctor than we would have otherwise. It's like, it really is the end of an era for us when we finally arrive at a regeneration story.
I was literally talking to my fiance before we started recording. I was like, we're hitting a big milestone. We're finally finished with the 5th Doctor.
I know. Do you remember how long we were with like Tom Baker's fucking crappy shit? Like,
yes.
It was like, I swear it was like 2.5 years or something of fucking Tom Baker. But anyway.
Well, now I'm worried because 6 is the one no one likes as much.
6 is the one that no one likes as much on TV, but everybody loves Audio 6.
Yeah,
everybody loves Audio 6.
TV apparently sucks.
Well,
or is very mediocre.
It is beset with problems, but I mean, I would say that the 80s as an entire decade is very divisive for fans. Like, there are a lot of people that really hate the 5th Doctor's run as well. So, I mean, you know, you got to take it as it comes.
Yes.
So, but that's a couple weeks in the future. For now, we have the next week stuff, and shall I tell you what the stuff of next week shall be?
Well, I know that one of them is the end of our 4th Doctor box set, or Second Doctor box set, I mean.
Yes, our last Companion Chronicle. It is called The Tactics of Defeat. It appears to have Zoe in it, and the unit, like Tales from the Vault unit team, I guess.
Interesting.
So I guess we'll see where that goes.
Oh, I miss some unit. I'm happy to have unit back.
Well, some form of unit anyway.
Yeah.
So, and then yes, we are going back to TV for the second to last story of season 21 and Peter Davison's final TV story, The Caves of Androzani. And as a supplement to that, you might remember way back when we were doing our Nissa audios, we had Circular Time, which was one of those 4-story anthologies.
Oh, fuck.
And we did spring, summer, and autumn. We never did winter, and that's because winter is kind of a supplement to the Caves of Androzani. So you're going to listen to that alongside our 5th Doctor finale. Listen to it after. Don't do it before. Otherwise,
okay.
But
it'll spoil stuff.
it'll spoil. It's like I said, it's meant as a bit of a coda. So.
Nice. Okay, so that's what you were alluding to.
That's what I was alluding to. See, I'm so sneaky.
Alrighty then. So that's exciting. Yes, I'm sad to close the door on Peter Davison, but I'm excited to keep moving forward.
Well, if it makes you feel any better, we've been taking so long listening to him that we actually have a backlog of new releases that we haven't heard yet.
which now we'll start mixing in because that's what we did last time.
Once we clear out the backlog, yeah, because we've got the end of the Companion Chronicles box set. We have the next early adventure. We have a First Doctor short trip. For the Fifth Doctor, we have one short trip. We have a monthly series trilogy. We have a New Monsters episode, and a couple other odds and ends actually. So
nice.
Yeah, we'll hear from PD Dave before too long. So
good old PD Dave.
PD Dave.
All right. Well, I look forward to it. So bye everyone. We'll see you next week with the end of Peter Davison.
The end of his life.
The end.
Okay.
Bye.